This video is going to be called "Follow the Traits." Now, when we all sit around and talk, or just whether it's online or in person, or you know, uh, and you're talking about breeding dogs, the term "follow the traits" always comes up. That's what we try to do as breeders is choose individuals that have the traits we like, choose individuals that retain those traits and are able to pass them on to their offspring, and in turn do the same thing with those offspring. And as you go, you're building your family, or you're continuing with your family by following those traits. Now, that's that's the general talk. It's always been that way. That's what people mention. The things they like in their dogs, or what they do, how they act, their behavior, you know, temperament, structure, their ability, performance. All that is important. And most breeders, at some point when you talk to them, they'll get to those points and explain what they like about their dogs, which ones are the better producers and why, and how they continue breeding particular dogs to keep retaining those traits and passing them on. But then you also have the conversation of, well, it's in their DNA. It doesn't matter. You're taking a chance. The traits could come out from anywhere. Um, there's no way to go about it. It's just a luck of the draw, or by chance or whatever. So to my way of thinking, even way in the past when I first started breeding dogs, I thought to myself, well, is it one or the other? Because they both can't be right. I don't think. You know, are you able to follow traits and continue breeding, have consistency and high percentages by doing it that way? Or is it just, it doesn't matter, and you're taking a chance no matter what? And I think those two ideas get mixed up in people's minds sometimes, because you have uh, one side that says, yeah, you can breed good dogs and there's ways to go about it. The other side says, yeah, you can breed good dogs, but there's no set formula. There's no set pattern, no set way to do it. So it's either one or the other, maybe both. So when someone says, especially someone you consider a top breeder, when they say there's no set patterns and it's just you're taking a chance every time you breed, that's true. But what does their record show? What does their results show? And they're mentioning that because that is true. You're always taking a chance no matter what. But that is, they say that, and I do myself also. I say that because nothing is 100%. So when something doesn't work out, there's a reason for it. On the other side, and I've said this too, there's a way to breed good dogs where you can have consistency for generation after generation after generation. That doesn't mean you're going to have, you know, uh, breedings that don't work, or litters that don't have a high percentage in them. But when you breed, if you follow the ones that do, you're going to have better success. So when someone tells you something, and this is something I took from someone else, but when someone told me something, if we were in a back and forth conversation, you know, uh, the first thing I would ask him is, what do you mean by that? What do you mean you can have consistency? Or what do you mean you're taking a chance every time? There's no set way of doing this. If you ask that question and they can't give you specific answers, and they can't give you facts to back up what they're saying, one way or the other, then I would question uh, what they're saying. I would question their record. Because no matter what, a breeder especially should have a record of his production. If they don't, then yeah, it's just hit or miss because they can't remember everything they did. They can't remember all the pups in the litters. They can't even remember some of the breedings they made. Whereas if another breeder says, uh, I bred this and that, and I made these breedings, this is what I got from it, this is the percentage of success, and then these are the losses, or these are the negatives, or these are the ones that didn't work out, then I have a tendency to believe it. If he's got facts to back it up, you know. It's like my stuff. I have stuff written down from 40 years ago. I have notes and records of my dogs and everything. I've mentioned this before. Because I understood back then that I'm not going to remember a lot of things in the future if I don't write it down. If I don't keep accurate records, I'm not going to remember what happened. But most people will remember the good, not necessarily the bad. And some people have a feeling, I don't want to think about the bad. I don't want, that doesn't matter. I understand that. There's other people that say, I only remember my losses. You know, I don't remember some of my wins because those losses stick with you. So, however you go about it, the point is to keep records of your production, to keep records of your breeding, to keep records of your dogs. Another thing, when they tell me something or they told me something, you know, I would ask them, how do you come to that conclusion? What is it that makes you tell me what you're telling me? So if you're saying it's only by chance, or it's it's a luck of the draw or whatever, what makes you think that? Is that how you bred? That I'm just taking a chance every time and there's no way to get this stuff right, and there's no way to improve the breed or advance? There's no way to make better dogs. It just happens per chance. I don't believe that. At the same time, if someone says, I did this and that, and here's the result of it, then I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to that. Because at least in his family of dogs or her family of dogs, at least he has record for those dogs. And if you keep records, and if you're doing it right, if you're having the success you claim to have, you'll see that record improve. You'll see those percentages improve. You'll see that consistency remain, and hopefully you'll improve on that consistency, and that consistency will be better dogs as you move forward. The other thing, when they tell me stuff like that, or they told me stuff like that, you know, I ask them, have you ever considered the alternate? You know, have you ever considered that maybe what you're doing isn't the way to go about it? Have you ever considered that because you've had success, there's a reason for it? There's a reason why you're getting that success. It could be that the family of dogs that you've put together to create your own family has worked before. It's proven to have high consistency. So naturally, if you do the same things, or you have the same standards, you're probably going to get the same results. Whereas if you keep using those old methods, or those tired out methods, or methods that don't make no sense, or haven't proven to produce consistency, that maybe you should change something. You know, if let's take cold dogs for instance. Everyone knows, you know, and this can be repeated over and over and over again. Cold dogs have produced great dogs. What's their consistency? Do they also produce cold dogs? And that's something you're going to have to deal with in the future? Or did it stop right there? You got one cold dog, you bred it, produced consistent, good. You didn't have cold dogs after that, or you had maybe one every once in a while. Or you kept repeating that over and over again. You keep going with that blood, or that dog, or that line, and now you have a consistency of cold dogs in your breeding program. At what point do you stop it? I had a whole line of dogs, or a whole part of the family of my dogs, that started as an outcross. and I bred those dogs and I won with those dogs, but eventually I culled all that stuff. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to cull something from your breeding program because it's not working out? Or are you so faithful to your blood and your dogs and the pedigree that you're going to keep it even to your own detriment? That to me didn't make sense. If someone can't tell you why they did what they did and can't show you the results of what they did, then they're just like you hear a lot of the people. They're just talking. They're going to give you the good, not the bad. They're going to give you the success, not the failures, because that's all they have. No consistency. So a lot of the stuff I talk about and a lot of the things that I did, even in the past when I first started doing them, I got a lot of negative feedback from it. Well, this dog quit and look what he produced. Well, that dog quit and look what he produced. So I would delve into it further. Okay, what were the circumstances? Because almost every quote unquote great producer that quit, they quit under adverse circumstances. People will take that to the extreme the wrong way. And they'll say, well, this dog quit and he produced, and that dog quit and he produced. Yeah, that dog quit after an hour and whatever or 2 hour match where he got beat down and his spirit was broken and he made some hard scratches and finally gave it up. Or this dog was sick, his blood count was low, he wasn't in proper shape. Or this one was, had a belly full of fluid and belly full of food, and a couple of drunk guys got together and put them together. Or this dog was a pup, not even a year and a half old, and he quit. And what I mean by going to the extreme, now people will use that and say, well, that dog quit and this dog quit. Well, mine quit. Yeah, quit after 2 minutes. Quit after 5 minutes, running and screaming. First time he got bit, he took a hike. First time he took a deep breath, he's finished. That's way different from the other. So at least with a cold dog that doesn't throw cold consistency that can produce, and at least with the cur that had everything taken out of them before they quit, at least you can say that. With the other ones, they're throwing cold dogs every time you breed them. They're throwing dogs that won't even start and quit the first time they're bit. And again, I'm speaking of the past. So if you're going to use those as examples, give complete examples. Don't use the fact that some famous dog quit under adverse circumstances as an excuse for every time you want to breed a dog because of its pedigree that's not worth breeding. At the same time, you have some cold dogs. The questions I would ask is, okay, you bred that cold dog. What were the litter mates like? Well, one brother was a champion and one was a 2-time winner and this and that. One was a game dog, blah, blah, blah. I have this one from that litter that's cold. Okay. That's okay. That's pretty good. The parents were good. The parents were champions, ROM, blah, blah, whatever you want to say. Good producers. Grandparents, same thing. Now you're putting at least some odds in your favor of why you're keeping that cold dog and breeding it. Rather than saying, well, I got this one female. All the sisters are cold. Every one of them's cold. I'm going to breed her. Well, nothing was ever done with the parents. We don't even know if they'll do anything, but they have a nice pedigree, so I'm going to breed them. Way different. Way different. And it's not just those aspects of the past that I talk about, the fighting and the ability and bite and all that stuff. That could be applied to anything. Thin bone, small teeth, weak bones, cowhawk, swayed back, bow-legged, internal organ problems, skin problems that are hereditary. People will keep a dog that has hereditary skin problems, treat them their whole life, breed it. Those problems are passed on. Why? Because of the way it's bred, because of the pedigree. That's why I always mention don't follow purity. Don't follow name brands. That doesn't matter in the wide world of things. Those things do not matter unless the product, meaning the dog that you're using, the dog that you're breeding, has some high standards to it. So it's one thing to say pure Eli or pure Jeep or pure Jocko, pure Red Boy, pure Mayday, pure Bolio, pure Croata, pure whatever it is, than saying pure Heinzel, pure Carver, pure Schoolboy, pure OTK, pure Tudor. That's different because with top breeders, it's not just inbreeding the dogs. It's not just keeping that blood pure. It's keeping your family pure. Those are my dogs. They behave and act a certain way. Those are Tudor dogs. They perform and behave and act a certain way. Those are Heinzel dogs. Those are Carver dogs. So pure Carver doesn't mean one dog, one bloodline, one inbred family of dogs. It means they have a particular way of breeding. They have certain methods they use. They produce a certain type of dog. That's the difference for me when you talk about purity. Because any dog, if you want to make it as pure as you can, regardless of what dog it is, you're going to ruin that bloodline. You're going to ruin that dog's name. You're going to ruin that dog's legacy because you're going to end up with junk chasing purity and pedigrees until you have nothing left until it's lost. So those are some of the things that I always question and how I used to think outside the box. And I use others as an example. You know, if Walter Z and Thomas Murphy and Frank Shy and Tessio and Stevens and Boyles and Tudor and Carver and Heinzel did things a certain way and had a reason for doing it, and you can find out those reasons why they did it, then maybe you can have the same thing. You can do the same thing. But if those top breeders didn't have a madness to their method or a method to their madness, they wouldn't be at the top. There's no way it happens by chance. There's no way it's an accident. There's no way, because if we say everything is passed on in the DNA or any trait can be passed on, then you can't turn around and say, well, you know, gameness isn't a trait that can be passed on. Why not? Nobody has an answer to it. If we follow traits and we teach about following traits and we give examples of how we can get a product, the end result of something that we want, and before we make breedings, we know what to expect, then how can genes and DNA and traits, how can they not matter? You can't have it both ways. But you can find a happy medium, understanding that you're going to have failures and learning how to have successes and improving on that, and at least have consistency. So that's a little bit about following the traits. It's important to do that. It makes a difference. And your success or failure will depend on your choices. So it's something to think about when breeding dogs. It's not always about gameness. It's not always about mouth and all that stuff. It's having the individuals that retain certain traits, whichever ones you like, from top to bottom, back to front, and proving that those individuals can transfer those traits to their offspring, who in turn will do that to that same dog's progeny over and over and over again. And believe me, the top breeders know that, understand that, and then prove it. So hope you enjoyed the vid.